Hi, this is Carrie Mubarak at wooingnature.life. I hope everything is well. This is your monthly reading for January 2020, and this is for my Gemini friends. So, everybody out there, hope everything is good and that you're doing great. So, we are ringing in the new year. We are actively positioning ourselves for 2020. 2020 is nostalgic almost because, at least as far as what we see, our 2020 vision is something that resonates with us immediately when we hear 2020. So, if you think about clarifying your vision and making sure that you see clearly and clearing the way so that you will know what you're going to do next or what's next for you, 2020 is your year. So, 2020, 2 and 2 numerologically equals to a 4. Fours are foundation building years and they're foundation building numbers. And so you can anticipate that 2020 is going to be mostly about foundation building, putting down some roots for some of you. Gemini, some of you need to shore up your bet. You need to make sure that, what you're envisioning for yourself, for your future, that you have everything that you need in order to make that happen to make that happen. That means nuts and bolts. And that means some organizing. That may mean some serious analysis of your situation, whether it's personal or professional. You've got to ask yourself the hard questions. And then not only do you have to ask yourself the hard questions, but you've also got to make good on it. So if you ask yourself the hard question and the hard question comes back with the answer about what it is that you need to do, you need to go ahead and make that happen and try not to procrastinate about it. I've had the opportunity to take a look at the astrology for the month of January. I didn't look at everything throughout the year because I kind of like to flow. I like to try to live in the moment rather than get into a lot of predictions and what we think is going to happen. Because honestly, depending on our actions, this is an interactive process. Life is an interactive process, and so we are co-creating. We are creating our existence through our will. And so no matter what the stars may say, you individually or we collectively have to be about that business. And if we're not about that business, then we might have to wait for the next swing of the cycle. So if you don't want to wait for the next swing of the cycle, if you're ready to go now, then definitely focus on building that foundation and laying a proper foundation and making sure that things are organized and that they are lined up for the vision that you see moving forward. So again, I have taken the opportunity to look at the astrology for January, and the most glaring thing is that there is a lineup of planets in Capricorn. We already had Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn. Jupiter went into Capricorn, and we also have Mercury in Capricorn, and then we have Mars is going to be moving into Capricorn. Some of them are moving in, some of them are moving out. But there's quite a few planets that are in Capricorn. And what that tells me is that it is time to get your business in order. Capricorn is a business-minded sign. They take things pretty seriously, and they also like to make sure that they have everything that they need before they walk out the door. They're not going to half pack their suitcase. They're going to make sure that the suitcase is packed. They'll probably take everything out, put everything in, reorganize it, make sure it's neat. All of that kind of stuff is what you want to be thinking about in terms of your life in general. So be paying attention to that. Our communication, it's affecting our communication. It's also going to affect your ability to be able to expand. So this idea of expansion and contraction with Saturn and Jupiter, or with Capricorn and Jupiter, really Saturn and Jupiter, and then this Capricorn energy and the Jupiter energy being in Capricorn, there's this whole push-pull that allows us to expand our horizons and expand our experiences and expand our minds if we need to, and we need to. So just be paying attention to that, and know that that's what it's all about. And so in order for you to be in alignment with the astrological energy, then you'll want to be applying that to your life wherever it may fit. So if your finances need a reorg, if your relationship needs a reorg, if your professional environment needs a reorg, if your house needs a reorg, you can find that out. If you want to know specifically where that is going to affect you or where you most need to be paying attention to that, you can get a personal astrological reading for January, and we can take a look at see how that lineup is affecting you personally. And you can get your personal reading by reaching me at the email address that's in the description box. Okay. All right, so for the month of January, I am going to do a little sampler of readings for you, and that's just so that people can know what to expect from some of the readings that are available online. And then it's also so that we can get a real circumspect view of what's happening, not just in January, but how we're setting the pace. This whole thing with the lineup with in Capricorn is telling me that how we start the year is going to determine how we finish the year. And so I've been recommending to everybody here on this channel, whether you're, whatever your sign is, I've been recommending that throughout the year you come back and visit this video, because this video is really going to give you some direction and some focus, not just for January, but also it's how your whole year is gonna flow and stem from January. So you might want to come back and revisit January and just kind of check in and check up and see how you are, maybe once a quarter. If you want to know more about the astrology that's happening, you can subscribe to Wooing Nature on Patreon, and I do a weekly update of the astrology. So if you're into the astrology and you want to know what's happening as the weeks go on, then you can touch bases with me there, and I'll talk a little bit more about the lineup, and I'll also be talking about how that's affecting some of the other planets and possibly your sign. All right, so the sampler, what it's going to look like, I'm going to do a medicine wheel reading for you. I am also going to pull a totem card for you. I'm going to look at wealth. I'm going to pull out the I-Ching, and we're going to look at kind of like the overall view, and then I'll end up with the love cards and the love reading. So I'll be stopping and pausing the video so I can get my materials, and so it won't take so long, but these are going to be some kind of long videos, so sit tight. All right, I am going to take a pause, and then I'll be right back with your medicine wheel reading. All right, so the medicine wheel reading that I'm going to do for you today, Gemini, is taken from the Mystical Shaman Oracle by Colette Baron Reed, and also Alberto Villoldo and Marcela Lobos, with Jenna de la Gratalia on the artwork. I really love the artwork in this deck. It's a true shaman's deck, I'm going to say that. There's some things in here that are hit or miss, but for the most part, pound for pound, this is a great shaman's oracle. So whenever I do a medicine wheel reading, I like to go to this deck because it really puts me in that space. So I'll be pulling 5 cards. The medicine wheel spread is a 5-card spread. At the very center, we're looking at kind of the spirit of the issue, or the spirit of your energy during the month of January. And then I also pull 4 other cards that go around that card in each direction: north, south, east, and west. And in each direction, it kind of gives us an indication of what's happening in relationship to you and your current life experience. Yes, I am putting these on the floor, so if I'm bending down, just ignore me. All right, so we have an interesting spread here, and I cannot help but pay attention to the color that's in this spread. There's a lot of blue-green in it. So that blue-green energy is really about marrying heaven and earth, or marrying two sides of yourself. And so Gemini, because you all are the twins and you represent that duality, I just want to bring that in, and notice that we've got a lot of blue-green in your reading in general. So I'm paying attention to that. I want to make sure I point that out. So dealing with dualities, if you're still dealing with that, I know last month we had lots of information about dealing with dualities, light and dark, male and female, that kind of thing. It is about finding the balance between the two. Now, masculine energy is assertive, aggressive, and active energy, and then female energy is more recessive and pensive and thoughtful and internal. And so if you are a person who's very outspoken, always kind of the person who's the active speaker in the group, then you may want to pull some of that back and do more listening. If you're a person who's more in the background and who is very quiet, you might want to do more speaking up and being more active. And if you're sitting around and on the couch all day, you might want to get out and be active. And if you're overdoing it at the gym, then you might want to take a break. So in other words, you just kind of have to look at those, the masculine energy and what it represents, the feminine energy and what it represents, and then bridge those together. And then there's other ways of bridging too, because everything has its opposite. So wherever you see extremes, or if you feel yourself going to an extreme, then you'll want to pull yourself back to center. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started with the medicine wheel. Again, the medicine wheel is a Native American. It's a construct. I want to say it's a formula. It's a way of life. It's the way. It's a way of life. It's a way of thinking. It's a way of belief. It's a number of things, but for the most part, the medicine wheel is about healing and about teaching and about bringing our inner energies into balance. And then when you are in balance physically, spiritually, mentally, and emotionally, then you are considered to be in a state of optimal health. So all of this is about healing ultimately. All right, I'm going to stop because this video is going to be long enough. All right, so the first card in the middle is the Eagle card, and Gemini, that means that you are clearly in a leadership position. In this case, this eagle is landing in a nest. So I would say that the first order of business for Gemini is to take leadership, but take leadership close to home. In other words, don't, if you're running for president, we appreciate it. But I'm not saying for you to go and run for president or do something really big in terms of leadership. What this tells me is the leadership starts at home, or the leadership starts close to you. So if it's in your family, if it's a family situation, step up to the plate. If it's in a social circle, or if it's with your tribe or with your friends or with your coworkers, somewhere where it's close to home, where there's a lot of familiarity to the people, where you understand the people, because in order to be a good leader, you have to be able to understand the people that you're with and that you are leading, and you have to hear them, and you have to understand them, and you have to make decisions about how things are going to go, but it's based on the whole. It's not based on just you. So this eagle energy here is about leadership, and it's about stepping into a leadership role. Now, the eagle as a totem sits very high on its post. It nests high. So that is for protection and just, the nature of the beast. But the thing is to aim high, to put yourself on a higher rung. I would do some meditation around the crown chakra, and then I would also start looking at some leadership models that you might want to adopt. And some of that information is online. There's also leadership classes if you need them. And I'm going to say that seems like kind of a lot to do, maybe for a small thing like family, but it's not a bad idea. And the reason why is because sometimes we can take our professional lives very, very seriously, but then we end up ignoring our home lives. And sometimes the best lessons are lessons that are learned close to the heart. So eagle energy is at your center and at your core. Now, in the South, which is the place of the child, it's the place of learning, it's a place of innocence. This is where we go to kind of do some heavy duty learning, or where we are expanding our minds. So, calling on that Jupiter energy of expansion. You've got the mystical shaman. And so, the shaman, again, going back to what I said about the eagle, I think that it's not a mistake that the eagle and the shaman are kind of showing up in the same reading here, because as a shaman, it's your role to heal and to dissipate negative energies, negative forces that exist in your village or in your tribe. That's what the shaman's job was. He's a, oh, that scared me. He's a healer, and he heals by one, knowing the energies that exist in the space around him, and also being able to navigate those unseen territories. And so, this mystical shaman card here in the South position says to me that these are some of the skills that you're learning in this leadership position. So, when we start talking about leadership and understanding who you're guiding, and also who you're protecting, because leadership is both, and also who you're advocating for. You need to know them. You need to understand that at a deeper level, and not just on the surface, because a lot of times the people that we're around are not really speaking the truth. They're not really telling you all that's on their mind. So you're going to have to dig a little deeper, and learn about those aspects of people that are being expressed in a subtle way. And so, again, going back to what we were saying about balancing the subtle versus the active, or the subtle versus the obvious, or those kinds of dichotomies, are all of that is information and lessons that you would learn if you were developing your shaman skills. And so this is what's being sharpened right now, seeing the other of the things that are not seen, and also things that are not spoken. So I would recommend that you do a lot of breathing. Breathing exercises are really good for clearing space so that you can hear objectively. So breathing, I would recommend for you as you are processing there. All right, so in the West position, we have completion. So this tells me that a lot of you are completing a cycle, or you finished a cycle, or you're coming full circle on something that you have been dealing with, or that you have maybe been wrestling with or struggling with, or it could just be that you've made the round to a new phase. Some of you may be um, at your solar return. If you're at your solar return, this is definitely a symbol of completion. But the main information that you want to take in is the heart. What was the takeaway? What was the heartfelt takeaway from the experience that you have just had? Because that information is going to be important. It's going to be an important part of you being able to tap into that leadership role, and it's also going to be an important part of you being able to access that information that's coming from that mystical shaman card, or from that message, that's coming in from the South. So this is in the West. Again, that's looks within, in the looks within place. And so if we're looking within, you're really looking at your journey so far, or at the very least making a complete assessment um, of a recent cycle that you've just ended. Okay. In the North position, Gemini, we've got the Rainmaker. The North position is the wisdom. It represents wisdom, ancient wisdom, elder wisdom. If you were to sit at the feet of your grandmother or your grandfather, or some ancient spiritual being, then that is what would be coming from the north. And from the north, what I see is that you have the capability, you have the ability to draw in the things that you need the most or that you want the most. You just have to be able to step into your rightful position. And when you step into your rightful position, things are going to just show up. The rainmaker, it doesn't just rain on your house. Bob Marley said, when the rain falls, it doesn't fall on one man's house. It falls on many houses. And so, going back to this spirit of the eagle, it looks like you're doing this for not just yourself, Gemini. You're really doing it for other people as well. So the rain that you're able to make once you step into position is really going to have a trickle down effect, no pun intended, but it's going to have a trickle down effect to those people who you are leading and who are looking up to you and who need your guidance and who need your input, because you do have an interesting perspective, Gemini, because you are the person who is able, or you all are the group zodiac group that can most understand those polarities and then how to find a balance between the two. So this information is going to be important to you, but it's also going to be important to those around you. All right, and the last card, really strong reading, Gemini, for you. The last card is the medicine wheel. Appropriately, we are starting out right? We have the medicine wheel reading here, and again, this image shows all that is, everything in life, the animals, the stones, the stars, the sky nations, you, four-legged birds, creeping crawlers, all of them are a part of the circle and the cycle of life, and they're all there for your healing. So in the next step, this is in the east position, which is the open gateway that allows us to go through and reach other heights. This gateway is saying follow the medicine wheel. Use the medicine wheel as a guide if you are so inclined. But the main thing is that there's 4 points: north, south, east, and west. And each one of those corresponds to your elements: earth, air, fire, and water. So we're talking about balancing on all sides of yourself: the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual, and bringing all of that together. And I think you've got all the material that you need to do that. Have fun. I mean, Geminis love to learn new things. They love new information. So I feel like this card here is letting you know that your next set of lessons are going to be spiritual ones. They're going to really take you to the unseen realm and open up some doors for you, Gemini. Geminis are air signs, so they're very logical and also cognitive, more or less, in nature. And so this is a whole new territory for you. So have fun, and enjoy yourself, and step into that leadership role with no hesitation. Okay. All right. So I have pulled an animal spirit card for you to guide you through the month of January. And I pulled for you the armadillo spirit. The card says set healthy boundaries. I think that is going to be very true for you, especially if you are pulling yourself into a leadership position. Boundaries become very important when you are a leader, because you have to be fair and you have to be able to deal with everybody equally. And I don't think you'll have that much of a problem with that, Gemini, but it's just something to bear in mind. So so this information is good for you to roll with. The other thing about the armadillo is it is a desert animal. Armadillos have this sort of tough exterior that we see here. It's an odd looking creature, to say the least. But it is one who it's an animal who's prepared for just about any kind of weather or terrain. If you have all of this stuff going on here, you're fully clad, fully armored. My only recommendation is don't have on so much armor that you're not able to show the softer side of yourself. That again is also an important admonition for leadership. Leadership can be tough, and you have to stay focused, and you have to be balanced, and that kind of thing is very important. and the boundaries are important, but it's also also important to show the human side of yourself as well. So when I saw this, I definitely thought about Gemini because I know lots of Geminis, and I feel like this is kind of their energy right now. You know, they have this tough exoskeleton, but they're plodding right along and they're moving right along, and they are watching and paying attention and making some good moves. So congratulations, Gemini. You guys are in good shape. All right, so I'm going to pause the video for a second and I'm going to go and grab the I-Ching and we're going to look at what's happening overall and in general. Some really clear messages come through I-Ching, and very simplistic messages, but some really deep guidance. So that's why I like it. But anyway, I'm going to pause, grab the cards, and I'll be right back. All right, Gemini. So I am reading from Klaus Holitzka's The I-Ching cards. Just for your own information, I do yarrow stalks and I also do coin readings, but these cards are kind of quick and easy, and I really like the way that Klaus has set this up. It's very effective. So anyway, I-Ching. All right. So the card that I selected, or that was selected for Gemini, is card number 44. 44 is a very powerful number, and especially since we're dealing with fours with January and with 2020, I think that this bodes well for you. And I'm seeing just in the card alone, we have a person and another person coming towards you. So you will not be alone, that's for sure. And number 44 says congeniality. It corresponds to the passage called congeniality. This sign indicates that difficulties believed to have already, but I'm sorry. This sign indicates that difficulties believed to have been already overcome unexpectedly present themselves again. At first, everything appears innocent and harmless, but ultimately confrontation cannot be avoided. It is advised to take timely countermeasures. It could prove necessary to acknowledge your loyalty to a particular person or to your own aims. Don't keep your opinion in the shade if you are without a shadow of a doubt that it is right. If you prove to be obliging and understanding at heart, then your openness causes no harm and the ice is broken. So congeniality is the name of the game for the month of January. It looks like some things may be resurfacing for you that you thought had gone away, Gemini. Again, that card of completion says that you have come to an end of a cycle, but some things may need some fine tuning. There may be some issues that you need to resolve or clear up, or there may just need to be some communication around the issue. Not that the issue isn't resolved, but it may be, some residual feelings. It's always good to just clear the air, Gemini, if there's things like that going on. So congeniality, bringing the heart again back into the situation. And remember, I was saying about making sure as a leader that you are remembering the heart. And I think that's what I feel like this is. When we talk about congeniality, we're talking about a heart space. We're talking about love. We're talking about treating another person the way we would want to be treated, or really maybe even a little bit better. Because sometimes we can be hard on ourselves. I realize that. But just, bringing your happiest self to the forefront, I think is key. All right, so I'm going to pull a changing card for Gemini that corresponds to the current card, and this is for the month of January 2020. Just trying to get the lines of importance, or the changing lines. All right, so changing lines here are changing line 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 are the lines that I'll be reading from passage number 44. And what that means is basically that there'll be several different messages. That's the way the I-Ching works. It's like, several different messages, and some of these may respond, or you may relate to or resonate with you, that may resonate with you. I'm going to get my words straight sooner or later about this. And some of them may not resonate with you, or for some of you, all of them may make sense. So really on this part right here, don't try to read into anything, just hear it. And if you say, or, then it hits you. All right, so line 1 says, even if the problem still appears small and insignificant, you should tackle it decisively. Even if you are don't blow it off. Don't blow off any kind of possible conflict. Great difficulties will grow from it if you simply let the thing run on. Line 2 says, keep an eye on everything that threatens to pull you down. Make sure that your weaknesses are not all too apparent at the present. An unfavorable chain of events and circumstances could cause you a considerable amount of bother. So it's stop-gapping things. Anytime you feel a conflict or you sense a conflict, deal with it right then. Line 3 says, you're tempted to take up a struggle with powers you cannot control. A good person is trying to stop you. You are thrown into a painful conflict. Keep an awareness of the danger that is threatening you. And then line 4 says, don't be condescending to people and behave with a lack of self-awareness. Important for leadership. You don't want to talk down to people. A power also lies hidden in these people, which is only waiting to be discovered. That's very, very true. A power which you might gladly rely on sometime too. So again, with you stepping into a leadership role, just remember that the people around you are why you're leading. Okay, Gemini? All right, so that's the I-Ching for you. You again take what you can from that. For those of you that resonates with, take heed. For those that it doesn't, then you'll move right along. So I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to move right along, and I am going to pull cards for your wealth. So we'll be taking a look at wealth next. After that, we'll be talking about love, and that will conclude the video. All right, hold tight. We'll be back with wealth. All right, Gemini, so the wealth card that we pulled for you is, I do not need to have money to attract money. I don't need to have money to attract money. I think this is important, and I think this image is interesting for Gemini because it looks like people talking to one another, and that's an important part of making money, is making connections and connecting with other people, and you all are the communication sign, so you're really good at that. So make sure you are communicating with people and connecting with people, because if you want to make money, that may be the very way for that to happen. That's just something I'm reading intuitively there, but I'm going to read what the card says. You do not have to have money to attract money, but you cannot feel poor and attract money. So if you feel poor, then you're going to be poor. Oh well. The key is you have to find ways of improving the way you feel from right where you stand before things can begin to change. So if you want to attract money and wealth to yourself, but you're not able to do that, then you've got to start here. It's got to change here. You can't be in a poverty mindset and expect yourself to be in a wealthy position or a position of wealth. By softening your attention to the things that are going wrong and beginning to tell stories that lean more in the direction of what you want instead of in the direction of what is currently happening. Let me read that again. By softening your attention to the things that are going wrong and by beginning to tell stories that lean more in the direction of what you want instead of in the direction of what is currently happening. That's a run-on sentence. You're vibrant. I used to be a teacher, and an English one at that. Your vibration will shift, your point of attraction will shift, and you will get different results. So the main thing is, grammar aside or composition aside, the main thing is that you have to start thinking differently about yourself in relationship to the money. You have to begin to see yourself in a different position, not in a position of lack, but in a position of having, in a position of being open to receive. So you got to find out where to start. And I don't recommend people lie to themselves. Like, I know that people do affirmations, and sometimes when people do affirmations, they're telling themselves things they don't even believe. I don't recommend that. Although I guess if you keep saying it over time, eventually you will believe it. But the main thing is to find a happy place that's between where you are right now and where you're trying to head. And you can find that. It's kind of subtle, but you can find that. You can find that. And again, I just want to make sure that you know that making connections is important for you, Gemini, during that time. All right, I'm going to go to the tarot now, in relationship to wealth, and I'm going to pull 3 cards from the tarot just to get some details about where you are right now, what your thinking is. We kind of already know, based on the card that we pulled, that that there may be some thought processes that need to change. So looking at where you are right now in your thinking, we also want to pull a card that deals with your past influences, things that may be influencing your current modus operandi, your current way of thinking about money. And then the last card is what are the next steps. Okay, so I have those 3 here. Right in the middle where you're currently thinking, you got your mind on your money and your money on your mind. Look at all those points. Okay, so you got your mind there. That's where you're focused. That's what you want. And that's cool because it's going to, at least you're thinking about it. Okay, so that's good. The recent past means that there's a rebirth, and I think that this completion card that we pulled in the medicine wheel corresponds to this, because death and rebirth are associated with completions. So it looks like you're starting over, and maybe you've already kind of experienced this death experience in relationship to money. Maybe you've given up. Maybe you're like, I can't, and I'm not going to think about it anymore. It's still there. It's still in the back of your mind, but there's some kind of thinking, or there's some past experience that you've had that's kind of adjusted your thinking around this. It could have been an ending of some sort. For some of you, maybe a divorce or a separation, or some other. It could have been an ending to a job, even, that's got your mind focused on your money. But there's definitely been a closure of some sort that has led to you having to think more about your finances and getting your finances in order. And then moving forward, we've got the 6 of Cups. I'll let you look at the image. The picture is worth 1,000 words sometimes. But we have this person here who's kind of turned away from some offers that are coming in. Maybe these offers weren't things that you wanted. Maybe these are things that have caused money triggers for you. But you definitely have turned away from it. But there is an offering here. It comes from the cups, which is not money. It's not physical things. It's more emotional things of an emotional nature. And so what I would say for next steps for you is to deal with that. Deal with your emotional connection to money, and to your finances. Where do the thoughts that you have about money come from? And are they negative? Because I see that it looks like negative thoughts, or at least you're having a negative response to what it is that's coming towards you. So my recommendation is to deal with that. Deal with where this comes from, because that's going to loosen up or break up some of the strongholds that may be on your finances right now, and you'll want to deal with that. So yeah, deal with what's happening emotionally with the money, particularly if there was an ending of some sort or something that kind of threw you and had that kind of effect on you. Because of your emotional state can affect, for sure, your emotional state can affect your finances. You think about people who are chronically depressed, who can't get up, get out of bed, and go to work every day. That's affecting your finances. But your mindset and your optimism and all of that kind of ties into your ability to make the connections that you need to make, and then also to start to think more positively about, or think of yourself in a more positive context, in relationship to the money. Okay. All right. So that's your wealth. I'm going to go and get the love cards, and that will wind up our reading for January. Hold tight, and love is next. All right, Gemini. So I am reading from the alphabet for love. This is a Kabbalistic love card deck for those of you who are into the Kabbalah. So some of these messages may resonate with you if you are studying or if you are a Kabbalist of sorts. But just in looking at this image here, it's a tether. I see the tether quicker than I see anything else in this image. And the tether is around the masculine, the person who represents the masculine. And again, when we're dealing with love readings, we're not we're not looking at gender per se. You're just looking at one person and then the other person, and then how their energies kind of mix together, from more of an esoteric standpoint and not from the physical. Okay, so this person here is has this ring around their wrist that they are holding, and this ring is kind of somehow intertwined or around their significant other. It doesn't look like the significant other is tethered. I'm going to look closely here. It doesn't look like the significant other is tethered. It almost looks like the person is tethering themselves, and maybe even trying to pull the other person into the scenario here. This is related to the letter Kaf, and I will read a little bit about what Kaf means, because some of you may be, may need that information, and then some of you may be able to relate to what's there as well. But the message on the back says letting go of control and learning to listen. And so that would be your kind of message for your love relationships in the month of January is, don't try to control. Don't try to make it be what you want it to be. Just listen to the other person and let the listening control your response. Let you listening, and listening is a very, people are hearing, but they're not listening. And I heard somebody say the other day, I am listening to you. I'm just not doing what you want me to do. And that's kind of that fine line. Sometimes we think people aren't listening. They are listening. They're just not going to do anything about it. And that's another thing you might want to think about in a relationship is, do you need to stay with somebody who's not willing to work with me? Something to think about there. But the main thing is, listening really is a deeper exercise. You have to hear past the words too. And so I definitely recommend that for you. All right, so number 34, I'm going straight to the text on this because the text is really, really important in this oracle. And we're talking about the letter Kaf, which is the 11th letter. It is associated with Mercury and Tuesday as a day. So Tuesdays might be good date days for you. I don't know. Or maybe days to stay away from people so you don't get on their nerves and they don't get on yours. All right, so its value is 20, so it's associated with the number 20, and then also you can break that down numerologically to the number 2, which is dualities and relationships and being able to bridge and balance between you and another person. It's associated with the fire element, and it is between the Sephirat Hesed and Netzach, which is grace and eternity. In tarot, it refers to the Wheel of Fortune card, which is, of course, about change. All right, and so for number 34, what did I do with the little card? Oh, there it is. All right, for number 34, it talks about letting go of control and learning to listen. Hard work and a sense of burnout affect the relationship, and loud background noises make you plug your ears in and not listen. Luxurious consumption, unnecessary spending, and an attempt to live in abundance beyond your means cause you to develop criticism against your spouse's passivity and dominate their life. There's a desire to hold the reins tightly in your hands and not let anything slip. Instead of controlling others, try to control your own tendency for stubbornness, dominance, and arrogance, and open up to your partner. In this situation, it's important to listen to your mate and accept their opinions, give them a chance to control the course of things, and then let go. Let go of hasty resolutions that you adopted one sidedly, meaning only focused on yourself and under pressure, and allow your partner to express themselves. Despite your fatigue, survival instincts, and a desire to accumulate for yourself, learn to contain your spouse and give love and appreciation in order to keep the boundary channels open. That's interesting. Boundary channels open. So there are boundaries there, but there's channels, and I think those channels are mostly about communication. So communication in your case, Gemini, is about listening. More so than speaking. And so when we talk about the balance between those energies on both sides of yourself, the masculine being more outspoken, being more demanding, controlling, arrogance, all of that is considered to be masculine traits. Listening and hearing and compromising or letting go of your agenda so that your partner's voice can be heard in the relationship is more feminine. So wherever you sit with that, and you'll know where you are, whether you're the person who's not being listened to, which you know everybody's going to say, that's me, I'm not being listened to. Well, you got to give a little to get a little. Okay. All right, so that closes up the reading for January. If you would like to know more about what's happening with your life personally, you can reach out to me at Kerri, Kerri, at wooingnature.life. You can also check out the website so you can see what some of the offerings are and what you might be interested in. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me or contact me and let me know what's going on. As always, I hope you have a great January, and I hope you're having a fabulous life.